Well, welcome back to the channel, fine friends. I am Bob.
I'm Karri.
And this is Life Redesigned. We are just two 50-somethings who sold everything. We hit the road full time and we make videos about RV life, life in general, all about positive of just living life redesigned. And today we're covering something as we've been making a few videos in one day because we're going on our 29th wedding anniversary, and we're covering a couple of topics that people have asked us about. But this is all about
Boondocking.
and
Things no one talks about.
before we go any further, when we talk about boondocking and being out there in the wilderness and just enjoying nature, I still have to get that job done, and we can make that happen with our channel sponsor, Connected. If you need truly unlimited mobile internet for, I don't know, RV living, for van life, for a tent meetup, if you just want to hang out with the boys inside of a pop-up camper off of the Interstate 95 going up to Providence, Rhode Island, you can do that with Connected. And you know what? We're going to leave a link in the video description. You click on that link and you can order Connected, and they'll give you $35 off just by using that link because they like us. How about that? So we're going to go over some boondocking things because everybody wants to talk about boondocking these days. And really, for those of you who don't know, boondocking is just a fancy word for, well, you're going to camp without being plugged in. Some people, like the pedestal princess here, well, that's a little bit hard to swallow, but I'm going to tell you, it's not as complicated as everybody makes it out to be. It's actually pretty simple. And we're going to cover a few things that you might want to be aware of before you go making that investment or making those plans to boondock. Number one, Karri.
It does take planning and luck.
So, okay, this is something where everybody likes to roll up and go, hey, look where I am. And, well, hold on there, Padre. You need to make sure that you plan that because, I'll tell you, these spots that, free spots, this is what boondocking is free BLM lands and stuff like that, fill up fast, especially with today's technology. There's websites that will let everybody know that these things are where they are.
Is there an app or something?
There's all kinds of apps that give you GPS coordinates. I'm telling you, we've actually looked at a few places and we get there and it's like 20 people parked there. And it's like, oh, geez, you need to do your planning. You need to know when the times are going to be appropriate for that particular area, and just make sure that you're not going to go there thinking you're going to have a peaceful weekend and you're surrounded by a biker bash. That's happened. Next.
Yeah, well, if you're looking to be alone, look again.
And that's going to be, well, nice piggyback on that one there, Penelope.
Thanks, Chuck.
That's the other thing. There are places, yes, out west that you can not have another person for miles. Where we're from, the area in Vermont, was Green Mountain Forest, and there's plenty of free camping there and all kinds of dispersed camping, and you pull up and thinking you're going to be alone, spend the weekend in Vermont and just have some romantic time with your lover. And then you've got Bobo and the twins because he's out there hanging out with his kids. They're revving up the Harleys and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And it's no different than being somewhere else, except now you don't have air conditioning overnight because I don't have the solar array to cover it. So you really want to make sure you know where you're going. And if you're going to be alone, make sure you pick a spot that you're truly going to be alone, because you'll be surprised when you get out there and there's a whole bunch of people doing exactly what you're doing, especially around the holidays.
Now, really, is this really a true thing?
What's that?
Everyone loves to post on IG.
Oh, geez.
I'm
This
kidding.
is everybody and their brothers, when they find a spot, whether it's off an app or a YouTube video, whatever, the first thing they do, it just blows my mind. They find a perfect remote spot without people around. The first thing they do is they share it with the world.
And guess what? You're not alone anymore.
And it goes back into points 1 and 2.
Yep.
So this has become a thing that everybody wants, that IG moment, and Instagram. Oh boy, and if they're not doing that, they're dancing like fools on TikTok doing this and going, look what I found.
You're gonna fall. You're
free.
right on the edge. Oh my God.
Right on the dock here.
Yeah.
For those of you wondering, by the way, we are in Twin Lakes in Chuckawidity, something like that, North Carolina, and we're standing on the dock and I am literally this close to falling in. So if I fall in, she's just gonna leave me.
Yeah.
Anyhow, next one.
Arrive before dark.
Yeah, hey, you know what? This is serious. Make sure you do arrive before dark because you don't want to be setting up pitch black somewhere, and you want to actually know what's going on around you.
Absolutely.
Last thing you want to do, and we heard this story from a couple in upstate Vermont that set out their thing in the middle of the woods. They were excited, and they had basically been parked right next to a whole bunch of bears. Not good,
No.
especially if you're in New England.
Yeah. And your generators might not be appreciated.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is you go, oh, I don't need solar. I don't need those big packages of solar everybody's pushing, those batteries by the people with the beards. We don't need all that. I've got this open frame generator that's just going to get me right through the weekend. And that may not be allowed, not only on the land that you're at, but also if you have people around you, even though you're out remote and you're boondocking, you're off grid, you're doing whatever, they still are there for the same reasons. They want peace and quiet. In fact, we've been in some state parks up in New Hampshire that have no hookups at all, which is common for New England. And they said no generator at all, period. Because, well, we don't care if you sweat all night. We just have a policy.
That's right.
Next one.
Just because you could doesn't mean you can.
Yeah, that's another thing is what may have worked for you last year, the year before, something you've been doing with your Grandpa Willie since 1973 may no longer be a spot that you're allowed to go on. These rules and laws change constantly. And for every person that wants to give the world a spot that they can go and enjoy, there are 3 lawmakers who want to take that spot away from you because the people before you left a little bit of trash behind. This is the world that we live in, so just because you can or once could doesn't mean you can now.
That's right.
Very good advice. That was a good one. High five.
Word.
Next
All
one.
right. There are limits.
There are limits to what you can do, how long you could stay,
Yep.
and everything else.
What is
And
the average? Is it just depend on state?
It
or-
depends on
or
areas and
land?
places. Most places, the absolute cap is 14 days.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. We have seen places in upstate New Hampshire that was 5 days. We've seen some places that were 7. Some places are 48 hours. You really have to check. And if it's not posted, don't assume that you have unlimited time there. You still want to check with your local town
Yeah.
or someone, officials or something to see what the laws are. Because you'd be surprised. You set up there and you think you're okay and you're not.
Know your consumption rates.
Yeah, consumption rates meaning water, water and like, well, solar,
Yeah.
power, stuff like that, propane, all that stuff adds up pretty quickly. If you don't have a good clue as to how much water you physically use, and I use water as a perfect example because that's the one thing that really drives us all, is that you think, oh, I got 40 gallons of fresh water capacity on hand. It's going to be great. I'll be able to get through a week. And you go through that water like crazy. And it's happened to us where we've run out of water. We used to leave with a full tank of water and it was gone the next day. We've also had times when we didn't use the water for 5 days and we were still dumping water when we were done. So just know your rates, kind of keep an eye on it, and don't always trust the gauges that are on your tanks.
Yeah.
Okay, we had to move locations because, well, the sun was cooking the camera along with my head. But what's the next one, Karri?
People are scumbags.
Oof. And this is unfortunately a side effect of the world that we live in nowadays, is that people have kind of ruined pretty much anywhere that's nice because, well, people are exactly what Karri said, scumbags. We're talking trash left, we're talking just anything that can be left behind. We've seen a lot of public land that has been just destroyed with people trashing it with garbage and furniture and anything. Even one place where there was a car that had been completely shot out inside of what used to be a great area for families just to enjoy a nice weekend. And unfortunately, this is becoming more and more prevalent across the country. And we always try to pick up a little bit wherever we are. And it's something we advocate for everybody to do is kind of pitch in and lend a hand. But it does become a point where it's kind of hard to keep doing that when people just keep piling more and more. And then finally you just say to hell with it and you're done. But just know that people are scumbags. If there is a way to ruin something that's nice,
They will.
they will. The
And
next one.
last but not least,
Oh.
and probably the most important,
Yes.
is your safety.
Oh, great point. And this is something where I won't go into too much detail, but Karri and I like to make sure that we are safe and secure and well protected wherever we are. And that can mean a lot of things for a lot of people, but
Right.
it is at the forefront of everything that we do. If we are going to be in a place that is not an RV park like this one, And sometimes even in places like this, we want to make sure that we have safety. Karri and I have cameras that back up to not only an SD card on the camera itself, but they also back up to the cloud. That's where companies like Connectin, where have internet pretty much everywhere we go because of the way they do their technology, comes into play because this stuff can be backed up to the cloud. So if somebody does break in, steal our cameras or whatever, it is already backed up, which is fantastic. Anytime that you are out of your element, and meaning that you are somewhere that you aren't familiar with, remember that there's somebody there that is familiar with that area, and they will look to exploit you. Unfortunately, that is true. That is just the way it is, and that's the world we live in. So make sure your safety always comes first, because nothing about that perfect spot is worth you having permanent damage or permanently losing everything.
If you're traveling alone, also let someone know where you're going to be. Or we have like Life 360, so our kids always know our last known location at the very least.
I can count, we go back for a minute to Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont. I know of at least 2 separate occasions where people have been there camping with their families. They went off to take a swim, come back, and their entire RV had been stolen. This is a common occurrence with certain areas, especially when you're talking about free campgrounds and free BLM lands and stuff like that. So anything that you can do to deter somebody from taking it. We've done videos on security systems for the RV and stuff like that. But all the points that Karri says, they come from experience somebody either has told us or something that we have physically seen one way or another. So make sure that boondocking is a great thing. We're huge advocates for any way that you want to live the RV lifestyle, and camping and spending time with your family, that should be paramount. However, you got to make sure you do your research, as we say with any subject we ever touch, even lettuce. Do your research, make sure that the experience is the best that it can be for you.
Yeah.
If we've left something out from you hardcore boondockers, because I know you're out there, leave a comment below, because we're always open to having more information, and we'll be sharing a lot more of these adventures as we go on later in the 2024 season. Until next time, I am Bob.
I'm Karri.
And this has been Life Redesigned.